Welcome to Behind the Design from Yaletown to Andmar. This new podcast is going to follow the journey of the new development, Andmar, inspired by Vancouver's Yaletown's history. Andmar blends sustainability, innovation, and luxury. We have so many conversations about how a development like Andmar gets built, what is leased land, and what is it going to be like to live in this thriving community. So let's get started. I'm Jennifer Lee, and welcome to Behind the Design Yaletown to Andmar. Today, we are talking the 15-minute city, somewhat a controversial topic, but we'll get into that in a second. I got to introduce my great guests. Again, we have Chief Derek Epp of the Tzeachten First Nation, and Mark Perry joining us again, one of the creators of Andmar here in Sardis, BC. Really excited to have you both on. We've had Derek and Tracy on, and Mark, we've had you with Tracy, but today we're all together. We're talking about this 15-minute city. For anyone that doesn't know what it was actually popularized by Carlos Moreno, a Franco-Colombian urban planner and professor at the University of Paris, one Pantheon Sorbonne. He introduced this idea in 2016, and basically what I got from it is the fact that you would create a city that is 15 minutes, that's got things like work, education, healthcare, shopping, recreation within roughly, I don't think he's holding you to the count of 50 minutes, but roughly in the vicinity of walk or bike or ride, or just being able to grocery shop and doing everything that you need to do. For me, what 15-minute city means is something similar to that. I live in the South Grenville area. I walk down, there's coffee shops, there's restaurants, there's shoppers, there's everything in a distance to me. Doesn't mean I can't live that 15-minute area. It's just way easier than me having to get in the car and grab everything. So that being said, I want to start with you guys. What does 15 minutes mean to you?
Well, 15 minutes is all about being close to life needs, really. I mean, the thought is that people of today are moving out of, out of the suburbia kind of farms and acreages and moving somewhere close where all the amenities, all the lifestyle needs are there, and and within that they get to be able to maybe not have a car, maybe their belief is for sustainability, and life is busy, and they don't want to have to drive that extra half an hour back and forth when they can actually live, work, and play within their community. And I think the numbers and the forecasts show that cities will host 80% of our population in the future, because people will be moving closer because time is of the essence, and it's a busier thing out there. They want to live close to work, play, amenities, recreation, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think Mark kind of summed it up really nicely, and even it's something in Chilliwack that we see a lot, and why I'm so excited about this development and having that work-life play balance that you can really live in Andmar, and you could, like I said, you could work there. There's a daycare going in, the grocery store, you name it, it's going to be a perfect spot for that. But if you're in the Chilliwack area, you understand there's a lot of traffic issues as well, and congestion, getting across town. When I was a kid growing up, you get across town in 5-10 minutes. Depending on the time of day, it could take you 30, 40, 45 minutes to get across town. So having this type of development in this area, which is, I mentioned on the previous podcast, is one of the most exciting areas to live in Chilliwack. And I think that's a lot to do with what Mark and the Andmar team is doing and what they're bringing to this amazing area that we're so fortunate to be able to work with people like Mark on.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that this is something that more people should think about, because I grew up in New Westminster, and the idea, again, for the 15-minute city wasn't necessarily I have to do everything in 15 minutes, but I lived in the Queen's Park area, which is not close to any grocery stores or anything. You can't just run out for milk or whatever. You have to get in a car and you got to drive across the city, and you got to find parking. And then again, it's just not convenient. And at that time when I grew up there wasn't a lot of restaurants or anything. So everyone was leaving New Westminster to go into Burnaby and to Coquitlam for closer restaurants. So the fact that you guys are doing this with Chilliwack, I think this is something that a lot of municipalities are needing to do, but they're starting to do it as well. I am seeing growth in New Westminster. Of course, Burnaby has different hubs with Brentwood and Metrotown as well. So I think we're kind of getting this idea of it. How do you feel that Andmar is fitting into this kind of concept of a 15-minute city?
Well, I mean, it's purposely planned. I mean, we along with the Tzeachten First Nation, wanted to make sure that it was all there. There's a transit station at the foot of the property, so you can go, if you're a student, you can jump on a bus and go 10 minutes to get to Fraser Valley University to do your schooling. You can jump on the bus and go to work. Or you can work within one of the businesses that are actually within Andmar. So, we've got the work thing. We've got the work thing looked after. Play, recreation. We've got within minutes. We've got hiking mountains. We've got Cultus Lake. All these little great places. Teapot Hill. All of these things that is all about recreation. And then we have amenities where you've got Nature's Fair, you've got Pure Pharmacy, you've got daycare. All of this stuff creates the community. And when you are somebody that is looking to start a family life, to work while you're going to college, all of these things are there within our community, and that's something that you can't do when you're further out in Rosedale or whether you're in Yarrow or something like that. It's just not there. So the beauty of it is move to Andmar. It's all here.
Yeah, and it really complements, I think I mentioned a bit of it yesterday, as it really complements a lot of the existing developments that we have going on and the density that's happening in and around this area. It was very obvious as why we chose, when we went to the RFP, to chose Mark and the Andmar team to do this development. Their vision is exactly what was needed in this area. And with the amount of residential development, we needed this commercial aspect, this more high density commercial residential mix that really provided that ability for all the residents who are living in and around this area. When they come home, they can stay home. And that's, really what we're trying to encourage.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me that, just this idea of 15 minutes gets pushed back, or not even just the idea of 15 minutes, there's other versions of it when people are trying to go into kind of more neighborhood areas and try to put different things like corner stores and things like that and bring it back. Yeah. That there's a lot of pushback on this type of stuff. And this is not just a thing that's BC, it's throughout Canada, throughout the world that gets some of this stuff too. But it's funny to me because the whole idea of work at home remotely is getting, everyone's getting upset because a lot of these businesses are making them go back to an office where they would have to commute 45 minutes. But then I said, but then you don't want things in your area. So it just gets really confusing where it's people want to work from home. And that's kind of what you guys are doing. You're giving the luxury that you can work from home. There's going to be also, I think, Mark, is there going to be any co-working spaces or coffee shops where you can work from as well?
Absolutely. There's we're going to have a co-working in the community area so that you'll be able to hire the rooms for business meetings and board meetings and things like that. But one of the things, Jennifer, that I wanted to touch on is that the foresight of the planning for the Tzeachten First Nation. A community should work without a car, and if you choose not to have a car and you choose to walk or bike to work, you need to have the access to work. You're maybe a welder, you may be a pipe fitter or a mechanic or something like this. In yesterday's development, cities said, okay, if it's an industrial area, we need to have industry or industrial land outside of the city. So you need to be able to, you need a car to go to work. Well, Tzeachten and their foresight have allotted areas where there are going to be industrial lands where mechanics can work, fabrication, factories and stuff like this. And if I live in Andmar and I work at one of these places at a warehouse, I can get on my bike or walk the path to industry. I don't need that car, so I've chosen not to use a car to save energy, to save the world. I can actually walk, and Tzeachten has, within their planning, has figured out that this is the best way, that this is what cities are looking for, and this is how society can make these choices, can say, hey, you know what, I don't need a second car because I can drop my child off at daycare, I can walk there, I don't need a car, and from there I can walk to my work at a factory or a mechanics or whatever. I don't need that car. I don't need the insurance. I don't need the gas bills. And that's how communities now, smart communities, are able to entice people because it's there, all there within a walking 15-minute area.
But that being said, because some people are listening to this and they're probably like, don't get rid of my car. It doesn't mean that you can't have a car to like do road trips or like go explore the rest of the lower mainland. It's just, the idea is that you should be able to walk around and do everything you can do during the week from your home. But then if you want to take the car out and come into Vancouver, you're not penalizing everybody being like, oh, you're bad having a car.
No, exactly. I think the thing is that it's all about choices, and it's about expenses too. And I think the younger generation that's coming is forsaking the $600 a month insurance and car bill, so that they can have an Evo vehicle when they want to go to a show in Vancouver and rent it, and it's not a drain on them. It's by choice that they don't want to have a vehicle. And because it's by choice, they want to live in an area where they can walk to work, where they can transit to work, where the grocery stores are below them. They don't want to be out in the burbs any longer. They want to be actually within the city. And our forecasts show that 80% of the population is going to move to the city over the next 20 years. So we need to design for that.
Are you trying to take people's cars away from them?
Yeah, that's the goal. No, Mark's right. It's really a choice, right? And you have the choice to do that. If that's your choice to own a car, then I mean, I'll probably never not own a car. I got 3 young kids. I got to get them around, and maybe when I'm a bit older, I can move into one of Mark's developments and be able to have that balance as well. But he's right. Like I even personally, I live down the road from this development. I won't be right in it, but I'll be close enough where I can hop on the bike with the kids or even walk with the kiddos and get there and go experience some good restaurants, some good good coffee shops, and really be able to even grocery shop and come home and have that ability to get out, live a bit more of a healthy, active lifestyle, and be able to park the car when I get home from work and leave it. And that's really like what Mark said, is a lot of it is that connectivity that we're really working on, that we have been working on over the last decade or so, and using some of those tax revenues that we get to generate to reinvest in ensuring that we're creating this walkability, bikeability, and safety network that creates this environment that not only for Andmar, but beyond that. But what really has enabled this type of approach is Andmar. Without Andmar, we wouldn't have the drive for people to actually leave their vehicles and bike and walk and be active to get to a place like Andmar. So this is really, I mentioned it before, it's really like a culmination of kind of this sort of central area that we're after in here. And it really, Andmar will provide that for a couple thousand residents that are surrounding the Andmar development. And that's the reality of the location that Andmar's in.
Well, that's the one thing that I wanted to touch upon is the infrastructure, because this is a great theory for everybody. But if you don't have things in place like Evo or different car shares or Moto or, bike lanes or coffee shops or any of that stuff there, it's not going to happen. So what are you guys planning for infrastructure or transit? Because I think a lot of people have a misconception about Chilliwack that there's probably no transit, which I know isn't true. But I think a lot of people just don't know what you guys are putting in.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Like in transit, actually, one of the main transit lines does in fact go right by Andmar and connects right into Andmar, as Mark was saying. So that transit is not an issue. We have Uber now in town as well, which is a big thing for Chilliwack to have. We've had it for maybe 6 months to a year. But what some of the infrastructure that we've been doing is the road connectivity, is the walkability, the pathways. So we're very strategic. One of the main roads that Andmar is connected to, 3-4 years ago, we did a major upgrade on the road to twin the lanes. It's 4 lanes with the 5th turning lane in the middle, proper bike lanes, sidewalks, and we'll be looking to do the same in some new road connectivity plans that we're doing that, as Mark said, is going to connect to more industry. going to connect to more of the workability that Tzeachten can offer as well. So for the infrastructure, it's something like I mentioned on previous podcasts as well, is like First Nations communities have had to catch up in infrastructure because for far too long we were left behind when it came to simple things like I mentioned, with sidewalks, lighting for safety for when you're walking at night, crosswalks for safety as well. Those are things that, I'm not kidding, I had to fight for in my first year or two as chief, and this is 9 years ago. I had to fight to get a crosswalk in for the safety of not only my members but for the safety of the community as well. So now we've been able to do that, close our own infrastructure gap on Tzeachten. And actually, I think we're in, with Andmar and coupling with some of the road connectivity plans that we have on the go, we're going to have a very well-connected community that supports this exact concept of this 15-minute style city.
Yeah, and touching on that, I mean, really, when you look at surrounding cities, Chilliwack, Yarrow, Abbotsford, the planning was 70s planning. I mean, where do we put in industry? Oh, we put it 5 miles out of town so nobody gets bugged by it. Well, how does somebody go to work if they don't have a vehicle, or they choose not to have a vehicle? It's all about energy and saving fuel, saving. Like, why would if I had a choice between the two, a job out of town by 5 miles and a job within that I can walk to within a city, of course I'm going to be within the city of Andmar and walk to work. It just makes so much more sense, and that's what new cities are looking for.
And sustainability, like I know, Mark, that is a big part of your passion for Andmar. Speaking of infrastructure and sustainability, are you guys going to have a lot of like car chargers and promote electric cars as well if people do want to have a car?
So every parking spot below ground will have the ability to have a charger there. So, and we'll have fast chargers in the shopping area above ground. So go do your grocery shopping, get your car charged at the same time. We really, and we'll have some Evo cars there, and we'll have some, bike shares, and so it's not a necessity that you have to have a vehicle to live at Andmar. It's almost the opposite. You have the ability to rent a car, or to have an electric car and not worry about, you don't have to be going somewhere commercially to charge your car and leave it overnight on a charger, when you can actually have it within your home city of Andmar.
That's great, because a lot of people want to have electric cars, but again, there's not the infrastructure to hold it. Even a lot of newer apartment buildings that are being built all over the Lower Mainland, some of them don't even have car charging, so they're having to be put in afterwards. So it's the fact that you're already thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Andmar, and I always, as a real estate person, I always think, if I'm a young couple, or if I'm a purchaser, where is the best resale value? Where do I want? If I buy at Andmar, I know that there's electrical chargers within the underground parking in my parking lot. Why would I buy anywhere else? And we'll talk on future episodes about our floor plans and what makes them better than the regular apartment that's 10 years older. As a buying public, you're going to say, hey, you know what? I can see all these pluses at Andmar, so my resale value is going to be better. My value of holding a piece of property is much better compared to something that's 5 years old and didn't have any of these thoughts to it.
And what are some challenges of creating this kind of 15-minute style? Because obviously there's always going to be challenges when you are developing, no matter what.
Again, it's infrastructure. Is the power there? Does BC Hydro have the amount of power that's needed for car chargers for 600 or 700 units? So infrastructure is the biggest thing. Of course, again, finding a piece of property that is as great as Andmar. As I mentioned before in previous episodes, this is unheralded to be able to find 11 acres or 10 and a half acres together all at once. So you can build a city with foresight and with a futuristic theme to it. You couldn't do that in Chilliwack or Abbotsford because there's no 11-acre piece of downtown city available. You'd have to take 10 years buying up single-family residential lots and putting them all together. It would be a huge land assembly, and it'd take 10 or so years. We were so lucky to have the ability to. It's like all of us. There's a patch of land on Burrard and downtown on Robson, and all of a sudden somebody says, "Hey, build the city that you want right within here." You go, "Okay, great. What a fantastic ability and a list that can I do here." It's unheard of, really, to have that amount of land in a city center.
We're just saying, and I kind of mentioned the previous podcast as well. We're just lucky that we were able to go to a very transparent RFP process and be able to have somebody like Mark come and explain this vision to our council and to our community, and to really have the backing to go and do this. Because I was a big believer in Mark's vision in Andmar and the development and what he was trying to achieve with this. And I'm just really grateful that our council, our community was able to see that same vision that I think Mark and I both saw, and really be able to realize the importance of a development like this, and how it's really going to be a staple of, I think, Mark and I will be able to look back, and we'll be friends probably forever. We've been friends for a long time, and be able to look back in 15 years and say, you know what, we did the right thing. And I think that's something that I really am, what I look for, what I strive for in this role, is that when I'm no longer doing this role, that I can still drive through my community and say I'm proud of that. Yeah. And I think that's something that this project is really, for me, something that I know that I'll still, when I'm done this role and being able to drive around my community with my kiddos or grandkids one day, that I'll say that's a development that I think we got right. Yeah.
I think I have a suggestion for you to get rid of the car. You should get one of those big bikes, the electric bikes with like the big things on the back, and then just stick all the children in that.
So I do have so I can actually fit all 3 kids on my bike. I have the
oh, you do?
Okay. I have like the shotgun seat on the front for one of them, and then I got the double 2-liter trailer in the back that I can put them both in. So I can get all 3 kids and go for a cruise.
There you go. You're already living it.
Yeah.
For people that are listening to this that live in Chilliwack or live in a similar community that are maybe scared of developments like this coming in and kind of changing what they love about their community, what would you say to them?
I think it's part of the reality of creating affordability and also creating a mix of a development, because if you don't want to live in Andmar, then so be it. But we still have other developments surrounding Andmar that you can still enjoy all the benefits of Andmar, all the benefits of the commercial aspects, and still live in a single-family residential home across the street, or a townhouse across the street, or you can start off in the condo and build equity and build that appreciation, that value in residential, because it's really difficult to get in the market these days. And to be able to start in a development that I think, if you're able to get in early in this development, you're going to see your equity pay off in this style of development. By the time this development is done, I'm not going to make any promises, but I could definitely see your equity growing substantially through this development, through the life of this development. And that's something that I think, if you're a young individual, or even somebody who is just trying to get in the market, this is the style of development that I think that you will gain equity out of, and you'll actually see a value that you're not going to get anywhere else in Chilliwack. And that's something that I think excites me, and it's really, honestly, it's the way of the future of development, the way we have to try to meet the densification and ensure we're doing the best to plan to meet the needs of the most people we can that want to live in this city.
Jenna, just to add on that, we've thought and pre-planned and planned for the people that want to be homeowners there, and incredibly, our median age of people that have already pre-purchased and are pre-sales is 28 years old. First time apartment, first time condo. they can buy from like a bachelor suite that was $279,000 for the start of home ownership, and can be all the way up, to a 2-bedroom corner unit of 12 or 1,300 square feet. It really has given first-time buyers and the younger generation the ability to be able to live within the hub of Chilliwack and Sardis, and affordability, and that's what makes the city. That's what makes life, is that you can get in and you can start, and wherever you go after 5 years and married and kids or what have you, you started and then you got your footing at Andmar.
And you can stay on Tzeachten right from your first buy all the way
right.
to your single family home or your townhome, all the way to the gated community that Mark also owns.
Yeah.
So you can do it all on Tzeachten.
There you go. I love it. That should be your guys' new slogan.
Right? Yeah. From birth to death. No, yeah.
Birth to death, never leave. I like the fact that you said affordable, because I think that's the worry when these developments come into any smaller community, that people worry that all of a sudden it's going to be crazy and they're going to be pushed out. And so I'm glad that you guys are,
It was
being like, no, it's actually a way to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, it was conscientious. No community works unless it can be an all-inclusive community, and that's important that we have all ages. Our background, historical background for my partner Andrew and I is being retiree developments, and through that you see the value of the life cycle. Kids, daycare, school, job, and then again to retirement communities. We're going to have some retiree 45 and over buildings within Andmar, because those people don't need to be ostracized and outside of the community of Andmar. It's all part of enjoying life and being within an all-inclusive community. So, but you got to start somewhere, and to start somewhere and work and own within a development, it can't be any better than that.
Oh, you really are creating cradle to grave then, because of your retirement. You're
From the
creating
womb to the
things
tomb. Yeah, from the womb to the tomb.
from womb to the tomb. We're coming up
moved
with
to
some
Andmar.
great slogans for Andmar. It's just funny. I like this concept of 15-minute city. I don't think it actually means 15 minutes. I think it just means a way of life. And so I just think it's funny that a lot of people, and it's not like in some other areas, it's not even called 15-minute city, but it's a similar idea. It's just being able to work, live, and play.
Yeah.
But it's funny that people were picking it apart online when I was looking at it, and they're like, oh, well, transit takes more than 15 minutes. And I'm like, it's not a literal thing. It's just, it's a way of life. It's not a literal 15 minutes. They're not going to be counting every single step.
No.
So
No, you're right. It's a way of life. It's a sustainable way of life. Yeah.
and I wish more people would adopt that. So that being said, if there's a city around the world that you love that kind of encompasses that 15-minute vibe, what is it, and what do you like about it, and what would you like to bring to the Andmar culture?
Well, myself personally, because I always think local. I mean, Vancouver is our theme or our motto. Andmar, Chilliwack's new Yaletown. Where you are in South Granville, same kind of idea. But Yaletown, signifies to me that I can live in the center of it all. I can go to the grocery store. I can walk to entertainment. It's all there. So. For close firsthand knowledge, it has to be Vancouver and Yaletown and these places. The world's a big place, and we can go to Seattle. Seattle has the same kind of idea as far as Yaletown. But so London, Soho, all of these places. But we should take pride in Andmar, Chilliwack's new Yaletown.
Yeah, I think Yaletown, Granville, that kind of nails it on the local scale. And I was gonna say, spent quite a bit of time in London the last few years, and reminds that Soho, Mayfair style of city. And then I'm also thinking of just in Christchurch in New Zealand a while ago, and they rebuilt because of the flood, because of the earthquakes about a decade ago. and they very strategically rebuilt in a way that almost meets the same kind of ideology and has a lot of that ability to, if you live in the downtown corridor, you have the ability to shop, work, live, and just play and enjoy the city and not have to drive. And so that's kind of also from a global scale to a really local scale.
Love it. I love London. I love the fact that you can walk everywhere and you can walk for like hours and hours, and it's great.
You end up in a
and
circle somehow too. I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah. And you feel so much healthier when you come back. You're like, oh, I've walked so much because you burn off all the calories that you're eating. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. We're looking forward to this. Again, 15-minute city is just kind of concept. There are people out there kind of trying to implement it. There's, I like everything. It's controversial, but I think just the idea of like we kind of put together here for Andmar is that it's just where you live, work, play, and enjoy life really, because I think a lot of us don't enjoy life to the fullest because we're driving around for three hours to go to work, and we don't need to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Behind the Design from Yaletown to Andmar. We've explored the history, innovation, and sustainability that makes Andmar more than just a community. It's a place where life, business, and connection thrive. If you've been inspired by this podcast, we'd love your support. Follow the podcast, rate it, and leave a review to help others discover what makes Andmar so special. Till next time.